Hello everyone, welcome back to News of Asha. Today is August 8th, 2023. Let's see what's happening in the world today. Exclusive, India bars makers of military drones from using Chinese parts. New Delhi, August 8th. India in recent months has barred domestic manufacturers of military drones from using components made in China over concerns about security vulnerabilities, according to 4 defense and industry officials and documents reviewed by Reuters. But as the nascent Indian industry looks to meet the military needs, the defense and industry figures said India's security leaders were worried that intelligence gathering could be compromised by Chinese-made parts in drones, communication functions, cameras, radio transmissions, and operating software. One tender document said such subsystems had security loopholes that compromised critical military data and called for vendors to disclose component origins. Technology gaps. India relies on foreign manufacturers for both parts and entire systems, as it lacks the know-how to make certain types of drones. A government-funded program to produce an indigenous medium-altitude, long-endurance unmanned system is delayed by at least half a decade, said Y. Dilip, director of the state-run Aeronautical Development Establishment. The senior defense official said India would need to accept higher costs to boost domestic manufacturing. If today I buy equipment from China but I say I want to make it in India, the cost will go up by 50%. We as a nation need to be ready to help the ecosystem build here. And this is very true. If you're going to use parts from China, there's a high probability that you are going to have security vulnerabilities. But at the same time, you have to accept the simple fact that if you want to build things locally, you're going to have increased costs. More Japanese regions brace for storms as Typhoon Kanun heads west. Japan cancelled hundreds of flights and advised more than 60,000 households to evacuate some southern regions on Tuesday, as Typhoon Kanun, packing heavy rains and strong winds, slowly heads westward days after raging through Okinawa. The typhoon, which is projected to reach South Korea's southern coast on Thursday, is lingering in the Pacific Ocean, about 200 kilometers south of Japan's third largest island, Kyushu, Japan Meteorological Agency said. South Korea on Tuesday started evacuating thousands of participants at the World Scout Jamboree ahead of Kanun's approach. Another typhoon has also emerged in the Pacific, the JMA said. Typhoon Lan, with winds up to 180 km per hour, is expected to reach central Japan on Sunday. Well, one side of the world it's raining and it's battered with rain, and the other side of the world we are having heat and firestorms. US scientists repeat the fusion ignition breakthrough for second time. August 6, US scientists have achieved net energy gain in a fusion reaction for the second time since December, the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory said on Sunday. Scientists at the California-based lab repeated the fusion ignition breakthrough in an experiment in the National Ignition Facility on July 30th that produced a higher yield than in December, a Lawrence Livermore spokesperson said. That experiment briefly achieved what's known as fusion ignition by generating 3.15 megajoules of energy output after the laser delivered 2.05 megajoules to the target, the Energy Department said. So it put in 2.05 megajoules and it generated 3.15 megajoules. This is actually a very big breakthrough for fusion energy. Scientists have known for about a century that fusion powers the sun and have pursued developing fusion on Earth for decades. Such a breakthrough could one day help curb climate change if companies can scale up the technology to a commercial level in the coming decades. I really don't think this will be able to curb climate change because the climate changes, but it would definitely help in terms of our energy needs throughout the whole world. And if we have an unlimited amount of energy, recycling, cleaning up the oceans, and bringing people out of poverty will become so much more easier. And maybe if we manage to solve the fusion problem, we might actually have prosperity on Earth for all and not just a few rich. July, hottest month on record, EU Climate Observatory. Paris, July was the hottest month ever recorded on Earth, the European Union's Climate Observatory confirmed on Tuesday, August 8th. Marked by heat waves and fires all around the world, the previous month was 0.33 degrees Celsius higher than the record set in July 2019, when the average temperature was 16.60 degrees Celsius, it said. Heat waves were experienced in multiple regions of the northern hemisphere, including southern Europe. Well above average temperatures occurred over several South American countries and around much of Antarctica, the EU Climate Observatory Copernicus said. Well, it's definitely getting hotter around here. California, 3 killed in firefighting helicopter crash. 3 people have died following a helicopter crash during a firefighting mission in the US state of California. The incident happened on Sunday evening after fire crews were called to a blaze near Cabazon, Riverside County. 2 helicopters collided, with one then landing safely and the second crashing into the ground, killing everyone on board. This is a very tragic circumstance. These people were trying to go and help save lives, and tragic struck. The crash has also caused an additional 4-acre fire. All fires were eventually extinguished. These are the first deaths of 2023 fire season, according to CAL FIRE data. Let's pray for the families that have lost loved ones. Portugal battles wildfires amid third heat wave of the year. Firefighters in Portugal are battling to contain wildfires engulfing thousands of hectares amid soaring temperatures. Around 800 personnel attended a fire near the southern town of Odmira overnight on Monday, with more than 1,400 people having to evacuate. At least 9 firefighters have been injured tackling the fires. Temperatures in excess of 40 degrees Celsius are expected to hit much of the Iberian Peninsula this week. In Portugal, Monday saw a temperature of 46.4 degrees Celsius, the hottest of the year so far, recorded in Santarém. 16 waterbombing aircrafts have been deployed to support firefighting efforts across the 2 acres. Authorities have declared more than 120 municipalities across Portugal as maximum risk of wildfires. The world has already warmed by about 1.1 degrees Celsius since the industrial era began, and temperatures will keep rising unless governments around the world make steep cuts to emissions. Well, I don't know if making steep cuts to emissions is going to help the problem, but I think a much simpler solution would be if every human being on earth planted a single tree. That would mean we would have at least 8 billion new trees. 8 billion trees would definitely reduce the carbon dioxide in the air. Unfortunately, we are under the impression that somehow we can just cut down all our energy usage and just shut down every energy plant, and boom, problems will be solved. If we were to do that, the poverty and the amount of problems we'll face just by reducing the energy input to the world will cause far more problems than we are facing now with this whole climate change. But planting a tree isn't that hard. It's actually quite simple. Go, take a seed, put it in the ground, cover it up, pour some water every day. Poof, you get a tree. But somehow that seems like rocket science in this 21st century. Asian markets down, dollar up after weak China trade data. Sydney, August 8. Asian share markets were mostly weaker on Tuesday, but the dollar strode higher as investors digested weaker Chinese data ahead of key inflation readings from China and the United States, due later this week. Data showed China's imports contracted by 12.4% in July, missing forecasts for a drop of 5%, while exports fell 14.5% compared with a fall of 12.5% tipped by economists. The offshore yuan fell to more than a 2-week low of 7.2334 per dollar, while its onshore counterpart similarly bottomed at over 2-week low of 7.2223 per dollar. Global investors are keenly awaiting inflation readings from China on Wednesday and the US on Thursday, expecting them to show stark differences in price movements in the world's 2 biggest economies. China's inflation has been quite low, but that is because economic growth has been slowing down and not met expectations, said Wei Li, BNP Paribas Asset Management multi-asset portfolio manager. Inflation should start to pick up where growth does, and we expect that to happen in the second half. While awaiting ominous signs of deflation, markets are torn between economic gloom and hopes of resounding stimulus that is set to reignite China's growth, Mizuho economists said. We are, however, unconvinced that Beijing's stimulus efforts will achieve intended liftoff for the still struggling economy. Here are a few things I don't seem to understand. We are having a demographic collapse whereby there are much less younger people compared to the older people who are retiring, which means economic productivity is going to decline whether we like it or not. Yet somehow all of these economists seem to think that somehow people are going to be spending more money. Sometimes I don't understand the cognitive dissonance that exists in this economist's mind. Makes me think that they're working for some big asset management company and they're just trying to boost the market so that they can get more clients to make more money. A black swan investor warns of an epic debt bubble and says stocks are overvalued and set to plunge. Mark Spitznagel flagged a huge credit bubble, slammed the Fed and endorsed Warren Buffett's advice. I don't think you should follow people's advice, you should follow their actions. I'll explain in a moment. We are in the greatest credit bubble in human history, Mark Spitznagel told Fortune in a recent interview. The Universal investment boss added that we are living in an age of leverage and on an age of credit, and it will have consequences. Spitznagel, whose fund specializes in hedging against extreme and unpredictable tail risk, were referring to ballooning amounts of household and federal debt. He predicts steeper borrowing costs would hinder economic growth, force government to restrict their spending, and lead to central banks keeping interest rates lower than they'd like. Spitznagel pointed to Warren Buffett's go-to gauge to the stock market value, the so-called Buffett indicator, as evidence that valuations are stretched. He also recommended retail investors avoid betting against the market or stocking up on haven assets like gold or US treasuries to weather a downturn, as he views their own rash decisions such as panic selling as a greater risk to their portfolios. Again, he is basically advising people not to buy things like gold because he's worried that if people sell their assets, his portfolio is the one that's going to take a hit. Well, I would suggest you listen, you don't follow Warren Buffett's advice, you follow what his actions are, and his actions is very simple. He's holding basically cash. That's the only thing Warren Buffett really is holding right now, which is cash. And in my opinion, cash is basically a scam. Therefore, gold would be the best option. Whenever some big economies or some major hedge fund manager or boss comes out and tells you do not to buy gold, that's exactly when you should be going out and running and buying gold. So, well, that's up to you, I guess. UK set to expand its national crypto crime unit as organized blockchain fraud surges. Well, I think this is a better way to handle fraud. Hire more people to deal with the fraud as opposed to banning everything. Well, let's get into the news. The United Kingdom's National Crime Agency (NCAA) is set to increase its cryptocurrency fraud investigation unit as part of wider plans to halt the increase in financial crimes. The new move will see the agency hire 4 new senior investigators to join the financial crime unit to tackle all forms of corruption and fraud cases on the blockchain. The UK's NCA launched its digital asset team on January 4 after reports of poor regulation in the market in 2022, according to a report released by the UK System of Cybercrime and Fraud. Bad actors stole at least 287 million that year. Although the country's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has stated that he intends to make the country a digital asset hub backed by the citizens' 91% crypto literacy rating, members of the House of Commons have expressed displeasure, likening crypto to mere gambling. Which makes me question, if 91% of the citizens are crypto literate, then I'm guessing members of the House of Commons are illiterate. I guess that's as simply as you can put it. The UK still remains a prime location for virtual assets and related technologies as the industry growth in the country continues to outpace competitors. Basically, this is how it goes. US, UK, Singapore. But the way US is dealing with the current regulations, US is definitely going to be replaced either by UK or Singapore in the next coming years. We'll have to wait and see. Zoom updates terms after backlash, won't train AI without consent. Many online said they were halting the use of Zoom over terms that seemingly allowed the platform to scrap user data to train AI models. Video conference platform Zoom has updated its terms of service after widespread backlash over a section concerning AI data scrapping, clarifying that it won't use user content to train artificial intelligence algorithms without consent. In August 7 post, Zoom said its terms of service were updated to further confirm it would not use chat, audio or video content from its customers to train AI without their express approval. Over the weekend, a number of Zoom users threatened to stop using the platform after discovering terms that purportedly meant the firm would use a wide array of customer content to train AI models. Other tech companies have also recently updated privacy policies to make room for data scrapping to train AI. Google's policies were updated in July, allowing it to take public data for use in AI training. The groups were concerned over disinformation, data harvesting, and manipulation generated by the bots. The EU passed the AI Act on June 14 to take effect within the next 2 to 3 years and gives a framework for AI development and deployment. I guess these concerns are genuine, but I don't think the AI or the bot is the problem. It is the big companies that are the problem, that are monopolizing the environment, and they are the ones that are utilizing the bots and utilizing this information and AI in order to create propaganda and disinformation in order to steer the public's thinking into a particular direction. So the AI itself is not really the problem. It's the people who are behind the AI and the people controlling the AI that's the bigger problem. So regulating AI is not really going to help. You should regulate the companies that are running the AI. That would actually make more sense. But as long as we divert attention towards AI, we're not going to focus on the company, and that's what these people are very good at, diverting attention. Blockchain.com scores payment license from Singapore Central Bank. The crypto exchange is the 12th to receive a crypto dealing license in the country, allowing it to service accredited investors and institutions. Singapore is aiming to cement its position as a crypto hub with funding commitments and further industry regulations around customer protections. Earlier on August 7, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, MAS, said it would commit 112 million, around 150 million Singapore dollars, to supporting the financial technology sector, including those in Web3. A July report by Galaxy Digital said that while the United States still saw the bulk of crypto startup funding in second quarter of 2022, Singapore-based crypto firms were third in line, trailing the United Kingdom. Thank you for staying to the end of the video. Please like, share and subscribe. Leave your comments in the comment section below. I'll see you again tomorrow.